Love that opening music. Every once in a while, I have to remember to thank our good friend Dave Powers for writing that opening for us. Hanging out at the club. It's awesome. Hi, everybody. I'm Dino Tripodis, and welcome to Whiskey Business, the podcast not so much about whiskey as it is one with whiskey. If you're joining us on Facebook Live tonight, thank you, or YouTube Live tonight, thank you very much. We appreciate that. I really, really do appreciate that. How do you distinguish yourself as being the 87th funniest comedian in America? I don't know, but Pete Lipsey will be joining us. Comedian Peter Lipsey will be joining us, and that's from his bio, not ours. So we'll figure out that mystery a little bit later on in the podcast when we bring him in. It's also February 2nd. It's Groundhog Day. Puxatawny Phil did see his shadow, so I think that 6 more weeks of ambivalence. just the 6 more weeks.
6 weeks.
6 more weeks of ambivalence. But then here in Ohio, we have Buckeye Chuck. And Buckeye Chuck did not see his shadow, so that means early spring, which means 6 more weeks of ambivalence. As far as I'm concerned, oh man, oh man, oh man. I was thinking the other day, Pete Lipsey coming up in just a little bit, and how I came across Pete after all these years. We used to work together, as they say in show business, back in the day, early on in our stand-up careers, and this is where we're at in the world right now. We bumped into each other on a Zoom chat. That's how it is now. We didn't run into each other at the airport while we were both getting on different planes, or bump into each other at a bar in Chicago where he lives, or in Columbus. We didn't run into each other at Target and say, "Hey, buddy, long time." No, it was a Zoom chat. That's how we bump into each other now, on Zoom or Google, whatever the case might be. That's fine. It worked out great because he's on the show tonight, and that's how we've come across a few people here, and more to come as a result of that particular Zoom chat, which I want to thank fellow comedian Doc Barham for putting together. We had fun. There's like 9 of us. It was excuse my language, it was just a cluster fuck of comedians all chatting, and and it was fun talking with other comedians, and it made me a little bittersweet. I've come to a realization. And I'm not trying to invoke any sympathy when I say this, but I'm wondering what's happened to my swagger. When March rolls around this year, it'll be 1 complete year since I've been on a stand-up stage. Oh. And I don't know, that's the longest I've ever gone without being on stage telling some sort of joke or story. And I'm wondering if I've gone past the point of no return. Like, if I were to say, you're on stage tomorrow at the Funny Boat, I'd be petrified. I don't even know what the hell I talk about. You go, well, what do you mean you don't know what you talk about? With everything that's been going on, you don't know what you talk about? I don't know if I want to talk about that, because we've been talking about that for the last 9 months to a year. And then I was even more intimidated when I watched a video of this guy from 1995, 1996. It was a YouTube video. And I watched this guy who had swagger and no fear and confidence, and was handling every little mishap that might have gone wrong in a live performance at a club. And I was so envious of this guy while I was watching him. And it was me. It was me. It was me from 1995 and 1996. And I'm like, what happened to that guy? And when I say I've lost my swagger, maybe I haven't lost it so much as it's just been replaced with sensibility, with maturity.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fear. I don't know. You know what I'm missing? I'm missing I don't have any vim or vigor. I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure what vim is. But when I asked Siri, her first definition was "not you." but I have no vim. I have no vim, no vigor, no energy, no excitement, and I'm hoping to maybe gain some of it back tonight by reminiscing and discussing and having a lot of fun with our guest, Pete Lipsey, comedian from Chicago, who'll be joining us here in just a little bit. Thank you, everybody, so much for coming and joining us this evening. I really do appreciate it. Let me bring in the boys that help make it possible remotely. And someday, once again, after we're all vaccinated twice, and can sit freely amongst each other again, be it safe distancing or whatever. Greg Hansberry this time up in my left-hand corner, and John Whitney down below me on the video side. So, hey, boys.
How are you doing?
Hey, you never lost your swagger to me, Dino.
Well, thank you.
No.
Yeah, but you guys know what I mean?
Money.
Oh,
yeah.
You guys know what I mean? It's just kind of just like, I don't know if it's just everything accumulatively is just kind of just drained us a little bit.
I hear you.
But just like, I want to get my step back in the worst way possible. But thank you guys for doing what you guys do. Our guest bottle before Hansberry does some business tonight. I know we're all drinking separately. Hansberry, what are you drinking this evening?
Well, I've got a what they call an infinity bottle, but I only had enough to make like one pour. So it's an infinity pour of about 4 or 5 leftover.
You understand that the infinity bottle is a bottle you're supposed to fill completely with just the remnants of whatever you have, and then let that marry for a while, and then
I'm not patient enough. No, I'm not patient enough.
I used to be really good at an infinity bottle. I keep drinking it.
Yeah, it's
right.
I have
an infinity pour.
I have one infinity bottle that I drink from. I believe Whitney's sampled it. It turned out pretty well.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah.
And I have a second infinity bottle that's marrying as we speak that has probably 24, 25 different remnants in it of whiskey. So I'll be curious to see what that
Are you supposed to make it marry for a certain length of time?
I don't know. I have no idea.
This married since this afternoon.
Yeah, this afternoon. Yeah. So you're drinking that, and Whitney, what are you drinking?
A little bit of Weller Special Reserve.
Attaboy.
That's the only benefit to doing these things remotely is that I can actually partake of some of the forbidden fruit that you say back. I have the Weller Foolproof.
Nice.
114 proof.
Wow.
Very special bottles that I was part of I actually selected this particular. This particular bottle.
That blue label is sharp, baby.
Yeah, undisclosed mash bill, but it has all the Weller goodness in it. And this is bottled at the same 114 proof that the original distillate was entered at. So it's not barrel proof; it's foolproof. It went in at 114; it comes out at 114. And it is, I've had this before, but not on the show. So it counts as our 153rd bottle.
Now, is that an Ohio Select or is that?
That is an Ohio. That is an Ohio right there. It's you can see it. It's an Ohio Select one.
Oh, you were lucky to get that bottle. That's pretty nice.
No, I actually went down and selected.
I know you did. I know you did.
And there's an even better one behind it.
Oh.
And if you can actually find it somewhere on the shelf, it's supposed to go for $50 a bottle. Yeah, that's a suggested retail price. Right. I don't even want to tell you guys what it's going for on the secondary market. As little as $150 a bottle. I've seen it as much as $450.
A quick Google popped up at $4.99.
$4.99. Seriously?
Yeah.
Just hold on to the other bottle, man. That could help you out in your retirement.
My retirement help me out right now. But Hansberry, and both of you guys have developed a better nose and palate. This is like a bakery in a bottle right here, man.
Oh, nice.
Spices and vanilla and cinnamon and then afterwards a nice little warm finish that I wish lasts just a tad bit longer. I'm hoping that the bottle behind this one, which was my favorite one out of the selections that we made, might do that. But this is pretty good. And everybody that's joining us is drinking something. Osbeck's drinking some Russell's Reserve 10-year. Che Miller says that was a fun day. You're right. Che was with us on that trip. Yeah. And JD Sanfilippo says, you're right, Dino. You used to be much sharper, but you're 62 years old.
Age will do that to you.
You know what? I can't wait till somebody like Jamie Sanfilippo is 62 freaking years old. And I just want to see if he's me at 62.
Hey, we've met his dad, and his dad is sharp as a tack at
yeah. Well, depending on how sharp is that tack.
Well, it still fits into the cork board.
That's true. It doesn't fall off the cork board.
Want to see what these guys are like when
Right.
Anyway, oh God, that is so good. I have to have another sip of that. Yeah. I could the caramel. Anyway, so that's our guest bottle.
This tastes like butt.
If you
I'll drink it though.
Oh man. So if you can find the Weller Foolproof, by all means pick it up. And if you can find it at a reasonable price, even at $150, I would say get it. All right. Let's get to it, shall we? How do you distinguish yourself?
Let me do the business real quick.
Yeah, business.
I forgot about the business. I always forget about the business. I don't know what it is. Oh. Maybe because I'm 62.
Yeah, you're 62. Well, welcome to the.
I'm not 62.
You're young, 62.
April.
Well, welcome to the Vim and Vigorless Whiskey Business.
The Vim and Vigorless.
Please subscribe to Whiskey Business on your favorite podcasting app if you haven't already done so. We're on all the big ones nowadays. You can rate and review us too, please. That helps other people find us and boosts all of our analytics. You can find us on YouTube, Whiskey Business with Dino Tripodis. And if you're watching us, thank you very much. And if you're finding us later, there's a little subscribe button right here down here and a little bell icon. Click on both of those, please, and thank you. And then you'll be notified whenever we have live streams like this or new videos posted. Facebook, thank you. Like us and share. If you are watching right now, feel free to comment like we've been doing already. We will be happy to share and answer your questions and comments. And right now, while we're live, share this with your friends and build that engagement up. It'll be a lot of fun. The more the merrier. Bring it on. Instagram, Twitter, whiskeybusinesspod.com is our website where all our archive episodes and videos and some of Dino's writings and all the Vim and Vigorless content you ever can get.
That's going to stick with you, isn't it? The Vim and Vigor. I got no Vim. I got no vigor. Hey, a shout out to Michael Beasley Bowen. I haven't seen that name in a long time. How are you, Michael? Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. How do you distinguish yourself as being the 87th funniest comedian in America? I have no idea, but let's find out. And welcome our guest who, if you haven't heard, I bumped into him on Zoom. Pete Lipsey joins us this evening from
how are you, Bill? John Hansberry.
Hey.
Great to see you. Am I coming in okay? Could you hear me?
You sound great. You're coming in loud and clear.
Okay, that's good. You guys were breaking up a little bit, but first of all, let me tell you something about 1995 and 1996 Dino Tripodis.
All right.
He hit the stage, and it was like a dynamo, like a whirling dervish. I remember him, his hair flowing. It was like he had a radio gig, and he was the man in Columbus. Yeah. Dino was a force. So when he says he's lost his swag, we've all kind of lost our swagger on stage. I've had one live gig. It was a month ago in Kenosha, of all places.
Stop bragging.
And me and the other comics were driving up. We were like, oh, boy, we don't know. And, they were 20 feet apart, and it was good. But like Dino, that was my first live gig since March. I've done 2 Zoom gigs. This will be the 3rd. So
how are the when you say you've done Zoom gigs, you've actually done stand up on Zoom?
Yeah, so I had 2 gigs where one was for 300 like dental assistants and dentists, and
a lot of teeth material.
And so it was me. Do you know Bobby Tessel, right?
Oh yeah.
So Bobby's a good buddy of mine, and we go back years. And so it was Bobby and I, and there was like a guy, just talk like you guys. So there was one guy directing the Zoom, and if we could make him laugh, we knew we were doing okay. Which is hard to make one person laugh all the time, but all the mute buttons were off. There's 300 people, so you can't put them on a gallery. And so we were just basing our material off this guy, and it was actually kind of fun, but we were all drinking. By the way, I got the Tennessee whiskey from Kirkland. Thank you very much.
Yes.
It's good.
From Kirkland. Wait a minute. From Kirkland. Is that from Costco? You have Costco whiskey? Let me see.
How big is the jug? How big is it?
Do you have the bottle?
Yeah, well, it's this.
Let me see
it's
it.
The Tennessee Mash. It's the 1.75 liter. It's Lincoln County process. Like I told you before the show, I don't know what that means.
Right.
Does it come in like a shrink wrap of 4 bottles?
Are there larger proof whiskeys? I don't know much about whiskey. I know if it was more than 80 proof at a Costco.
Is it 80?
There'd be police there all day long, I think.
An 80.
That's a breakfast whiskey.
Yeah,
that's an eye opener.
80 proof for me right now is it's.
All right, and again, sorry, you're breaking in and out, so I'm reading lips too because I used to do that years ago. So I will follow your lead. But yeah, so Dino on the road was great, and as far as being the 87th funniest comic in the country, a good buddy of mine, Richard Label. He's been doing it for 35 years. He was one of the original improv guys, Improv Olympic. And we were talking one day. He goes, you know what? I think you're like the 87th funniest guy in the country. And this was years ago, which meant I was between Mark Skippy Price and Noodles Levenstein, which means I was funnier than one of them, but not quite as funny as the other. And that was years ago. I'm probably well down the list. But I say that because people are like, what the heck does that mean? And it's just something that kills 9 seconds when I come on stage. So
yeah, no, it's great. It's great.
But I didn't pick.
If you were to say,
like, here's a nice guy, and Noodles Levenstein, who when I started in Milwaukee in '88, I was doing open mics. He was closing the new big room in Pewaukee, and they didn't have his cash, so he stole the microphone, which I thought was, listen, after a week's of work at probably $1,800 a week back then.
Right.
They didn't have his money. He probably stole the $1,200 microphone. So, it's kudos to him. But one of the greatest names of all time, Noodles Levenstein. So
it's a great name. It's a great name. What a great.
Yeah. Haven't worked with them since. Have you worked with them?
I've not worked with. I've not worked with Noodles. Levenstein. No.
Was it a clown?
Not had the pleasure of
He's a good Catholic boy.
With Noodles.
Yeah, so 87th might be 387th. Like Dino, when you and I started, I mean, I started full time in '89. Maybe you were a year or two more than me.
No, I started we started about the same time, actually, 89, 90. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I was in Milwaukee for a year and a half doing open mics, and then moved back to Chicago because Chicago is 6 hours to Columbus, 5 to Louisville, 5 to Cincy, 5 to St. Louis. And then at 2 in the morning, it's like, it's another 60-mile drive to Milwaukee. So I moved to Chicago to be more centrally located. But yeah, what was I going to say? So we started at the same time. And I think in those early days, I did a lot of the Bones, which you did.
Mm-hmm.
And
probably where I remember you the most is most here at the Funny Bone when you would come in. And I was telling the guys before you joined us, and this is kind of a curse. And a blessing. I consider it a blessing because over the course of my time on the road, which was magnificent, there was some of the best years of my life. But there were good guys, and there were some not so good guys. And you always had a reputation of being just one of the great guys. I've never remember hearing a disparaging word about Pete Lipsey. I mean, you were just one of those really nice guys, and sometimes nice guys would get taken advantage of,
Well, I appreciate that. And, you're right. There are great guys on the road and some not so good guys, but that's part of the journey, right? I mean,
right.
It's like me talking to you and meeting these guys. Like when we did the Zoom, it's like, when you're in it and you're starting off, and I always say, how long have you been doing comedy? 2 years. You want to say 10 years. And the longer you do it, you want to say, I've been doing it 2 years. But then I hook up with these guys I haven't seen for years. And they're just like me. They're hustling for gigs and they're still doing their thing, which is great. Because when we started, there were like 6,000 maybe full-time comics on the road out of 310 million people. That's kind of pretty cool.
Right.
Now, and then like in the 90s when they were papering rooms and everyone was a comic, it grew. But now I think it's probably less than 6,000 full-time comics.
And also at that particular time, there was a comedy, for lack of a better word, a renaissance, if you will, going on where clubs were popping. Everybody wanted to open up a comedy club. And there were a lot of what they call A rooms, like the Funny Bone and some of your big, and then there were B rooms and C rooms, which we played them all. I mean, all of a sudden a Holiday Inn in Whitesburg, Kentucky would turn their lounge into a comedy club on a Friday and Saturday night.
Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, and they would have a comedy show, and
so
we would
what
play.
You say like 90 early 90s?
I'd say starting off hitting the road. I think we both worked some Sharon Rarick gigs back in the day. Did you work for Sharon Rarick, Pete? Did you? He's reading my lips again. I can tell.
Like I'd say 90 to 96 was booming.
Yeah. Did you work for Sharon? Did you work for Sharon Rarick?
I never worked for Sharon. Tried to. There's regional bookers that you try and get in with.
Right.
And then, I was a Muller guy. I was a Tom Hansen guy. I was a Sobel guy. And then, you get these one-nighters. And that's back in the day where they had Tuesdays through Sundays.
Right.
And Jokers in Oklahoma City had 3 shows Friday and Saturday for some god-awful reason. Why have a midnight show? Why not just have 8 and 10 and have 4 great shows instead of 4 great shows and 2 not good shows?
Squeezing out that comedy dollar, man, getting every last bit of liquor sale possible. The midnight shows were just very seldom did I come across a good midnight show, and I dreaded it. Every once in a while, you'd be fortuitous enough that everything would go the way it was supposed to. Midnight shows, and I always hated second show Friday night. Because second show Friday night was the people that had worked hard all week long, and God bless them, they were out on a Friday night and they were out drinking and having dinner. Then they decided while they were half in the bag that they wanted to come to a comedy show on the second show Friday night, and those would be the nights that would be one of the more disruptive evenings as far as an unruly crowd where somebody would try to throw down their gauntlet with whoever was on stage at that particular time.
Want to heckle?
Yeah, want to heckle, and that's when you would have to actually, have your wits about you and be able to handle them. But all in all, though, I mean, it was
great. And I always thought it was me. All right, I'm having a crap show on Friday, and when I was either opening or middling, and then then I'd see the headliner, really great comics. They're struggling too. So it's that psychological thing that And I will say this. And I don't know if you can count on your hand. I have had maybe only 11 shows in 30 years that were just anything I said. It was all working. All cylinders were banging. And not to say I haven't had other great shows. I have great shows, but I can count like 10 or 11 where it's like, man, this is where you don't want it to stop.
Magic.
Those are the random group of people for whatever reason at that point in time, at that night, they're just with you.
So after 30 years of stand-up and countless performances, 11 that were magic. 11.
Well, 11 superb. Write it in. How come no one's using me for anything type shows?
Right.
And that's what that speaks to the power of it.
We're really good. But that speaks to the power of it, because if you have 11 shows out of all those 11 shows, I mean, it's like heroin, it's like, God, it's so good. You got to keep coming back just for 11 out of 30 years. I'll tell you one of the shows. So Billy Corrigan of the Smashing Pumpkins. I grew up in Highland Park, Illinois, suburb north of Chicago. He bought a little tea shop in the town I grew up in, and it held 65 people, 8-foot ceilings, no microphone, packed. And I did it 3 times, and those are 2 of the best shows I've ever done in my entire life. I can't explain it. It was just, again, that gathering of people. And so, And so when we haven't been on stage in a year, and then, listen, do I bring up notes? I never bring up notes, but to get the time in, would I the first time I hit the stage? If we ever get on stage again, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You
Possibly.
know.
Yeah, and also, I was watching some of your old videos online. I mean, you're a setup punchline type of guy. You cram more into 20 minutes than I could in an hour. I mean, you're boom, 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 boom. You go. I mean, you are a laugh per minute type of guy.
Well, I tried doing that because, and I have longer bits too, but my early days, like we all did, you'd burn through material. I'd have started out, I have 15 minutes of material, and some shows I'd be done in 6 minutes. Oh man, what do I do now? But I like the one-liner, the topical joke type stuff, because if you don't like the first two, you might like the next 6.
Right.
And it goes on and on and on.
Boom,
and
boom.
No comic will make everyone laugh at every joke. But I think I told you this on the Zoom when we were on last time. MTV, I believe, killed America's attention spans, because they're the ones that started with quick edits. Boom, 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 boom. I can't follow you.
Right.
So if I have a funny 3-minute bit, and there's no way today's audience is following me. But now my demographics, like you, is 45 to 70. So, there might be a little more reasonable people in the crowd that will listen. And
you vim and vigorless old folk.
Vim and vigorous.
I'm sorry, I missed that. It cut out. Sorry.
I just called you old.
Yeah, I'm 59. I'm 3 behind Dino.
You're what?
I'm 3 behind Dino. I'm 59. I think my IRA's kick in 5 months.
Yeah.
Now take out.
59 and a half, baby. 59 and a half is coming up.
How long have we been hearing that? Oh my God.
Yeah. when did you what were you doing before stand-up? Did you have a job?
All right, so here's a weird story. So I went to school at Drake in Des Moines, the Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa, and I was a radio TV major, and I worked at a bunch of radio stations. Moved back to Chicago. Was with my mom, living at her place for a little bit, and I was working at a radio station in Milwaukee for about a year. And I was doing some TV film production in Chicago, and I got tired of the 68-mile drive to Milwaukee, so I finally moved up on a Friday, signed my 1-year lease. That next day, Saturday, unbeknownst to anyone at the station was sold. We're all out of gigs.
Sounds familiar.
So I have 364 days left on my lease. So I got a bunch of jobs. One was a messenger at the Milwaukee Journal. And then one was bartending at a place that had a comedy night. It was an open mic night. And I've always liked comedy. And so after about 2-3 months, my buddy Drew, who was the beat writer for the Milwaukee Brewers, says, why don't you go on stage? So I wrote 5 minutes and went on stage, got a few laughs, mostly not. Didn't know the red light meant get off the stage. I did 15. And it was like a disjointed 15, but I liked it. And so, because I was like, I'm funnier than that guy.
That's how it
so
starts.
I went on and just started doing what open micers do, and a year and a half later, hit the road.
Yeah.
I was an MC at that time. You can get gigs everywhere.
Right.
Is open mic even a thing now?
In Chicago at that time, we had the Improv, the Funny Firm, Laugh Factory, and 16 other full-time clubs.
Yeah, the Funny Firm. I remember I played the Funny Firm and Zanies and so forth and so on. Yeah, Chicago
Funny Firm was unbelievable.
It was a classy joint, man. It was kind of like a Ritz-Carlton of comedy clubs. It was a beautiful club,
right. And it's called the Funny Farm.
The Funny Firm.
Firm.
Yeah, Funny Firm. The one time I was there, and you remember these guys, it was me, John Bongiorno. We switched opening up. Diana Limo. Remember Diane?
Uh-huh.
And then Kathleen Madigan.
Wow.
And that was at the time where the fire marshal didn't care that everyone was sitting in the aisles. That thing held probably 500 people. They packed them every show. It was great. The sound system was great. Like the Columbus Bone sound system was unbelievable.
I worked.
That was great.
I worked with Richard. God rest his soul. Richard Jenny at the Funny Firm. Wow. Yeah, Richard Jenny. When he was a troubled soul, even back then, but so funny. And another time with Bobby Slayton.
Oh, I worked with Bobby at the Boise Funny Bone probably 15 years ago. He's a Skechers guy now. I think he does Skechers commercials online. But Bobby was great.
Bobby was terrific, and at the time, you talk about gigs that we both had. I was my first year and a half of stand up. I was still doing my day gig, which was I was an investigator. So I was So and when Slayton, I remember Bobby Slayton is like, "What are you talking about? You like a private eye? Like a private eye?" I go, yeah. And he goes, and you work during the day? I go, yeah, because I was actually in Chicago at that particular time on a long-term assignment, and he was like, "So what? I mean, like you got like a microphone and a flower in your lapel."
That's all it takes.
Are you taping conversations? And he goes, "What are you working on right now? Let's go. I want to go with you. I want to go with you the next day in the morning. I want to go with you on a case." He was all like, no, you can't. Why not? It'll be good.
Yeah.
Good. Let's go. I actually made some notes about that.
Listen, he was a lot of fun, and but I never worked with Jenny.
Jenny was.
You know Mike Pace, right?
Yes.
Pace is a good buddy of mine, and he told me one day that he was middling for Jenny, and Pace, I think, is one of the strongest comics in the country, just had one of those shows where he destroyed. And Jenny comes up and goes, "Who the heck are you?" And Jenny did great, as all good comics do. But
right.
I wish I would have. I almost worked with him once, but I never did.
Yeah, he was great and a really, really good guy. Nice guy, very nice to me. Coming up as were a lot of the top headliners of that particular time. Mm-hmm. I remember being very, very, very gracious and very kind and helpful. Slayton was helpful. Lenny Clark out of Boston got
helpful.
Me into
Helpful doesn't happen anymore. Like when I started, when I was opening up in Chicago, all the guys have been doing it 2 or 3 years more than me. I ask them questions. What do you do? How does this work? How do you get gigs? How do you write? And they would literally tell you how to do it. Today's comics, at least the ones I've seen, and I don't do any open mics because they're like, "Who's this old guy?" They freeze you out. I'm just trying to get material out. And they all go to their open mics and they're looking at their phones. They do their set and they go.
No, you're not the first person I've heard that from. There was a longtime comic we had on the show, on the podcast, out of Cleveland, Charlie Wiener, and he said the exact same thing. He remembers back in the day when it was a family, where the comics hung out afterwards and communicated and exchanged ideas and thoughts and bits and hey, I got a tagline for you. And he would go when he would be booked at a club, he would go early in the week, and if the club had an open mic night here, he would go. And he said that he felt that same isolation, where not only like who's the old guy, but even amongst themselves. Even the comics that were there, like there were a couple guys that might be friends and hang out and so forth and so on, but everybody seemed to have their own agenda as to what they were doing and where they were going. Why
is it? Is it because everybody's cutthroat?
I don't know if everybody's cutthroat. I don't even know. I'm not even blaming them. I just think it's how society. I just think it's a shift. It's a shift in communication and society, and part of the situation of how we communicate now.
I think it's this thing.
The phones.
Yeah, their community is not in the comedy club. Their community is online, right?
What everyone wants: instant access and instant results. So it's the phone, and I don't care. And hey, my stuff's funny. It's like networking. Right. I've done a few networking gigs where it's me and Dino, and I'm like, "Hi," and maybe Dino's saying his spiel to me, and I'm like, "Okay, this is what I do." It's like, that's great, but here's me. And so I think there's a lot of that. I think a lot of comics. I won't say comics. Well, I will say comics. Like back in our day, I think there were comics that got developmental deals, right? They wanted to be actors or whatever, and they would trample over the art of being a stand-up comic for whatever reason to get that deal. And I love being a comedian. 99% of the planet doesn't know me, but I've been doing it over 30 years. So that in and of itself, like Dino, sure. And like you guys doing your gigs, there's something to be said about that.
Right.
And but there's some guys that are like, I don't care, I'm just gonna, and so that kind of upsets me. But
I tip my hat to you, who's been when I use the word journeyman for 30 years, because even though I've kept my feet in stand-up waters for the past 30 years, 24 of those years were on spent hosting a morning show here in Columbus, Ohio. Right. I was doing morning radio for 24 years. So, in the beginning, when I first started doing the radio gig, every opportunity I had, I would go. If I had a vacation week, I booked a week in Omaha, Nebraska, every Thanksgiving for like 3 Thanksgivings in a row.
Oh my God!
I was at Colleen's room in Omaha, Nebraska, doing Thanksgiving week, and I would go, and then I would take vacation weeks, and once every 6 weeks or so, I would take especially the first year when I was just the co-host of the show. I wasn't even the host of the show. I would go back out to California and try to still do sets and spend a long weekend and try to get my spot back at the Comedy Store.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, I mean, because I did not think that radio was going to work out,
Right.
So I wanted to make sure that I kept all those.
How great were Colleen and Joan?
They were great.
And hold on, and dumb it down for me. Remind me, who are Colleen and Joan?
Colleen and Joan ran the Omaha Funny Bone, and cool. They were just super ladies who had an appreciation for what we did and how we did it, and they ran a great club.
And the Funny Bone's a chain, but it has its individual owners. And then, kind of their own bookers and everything.
Actually, they had their own club managers, and maybe some of the people had a stake in any particular club in the chain. But primarily, it had one owner who kind of had them all. But various people would get had different capacities and what they had invested in the club. But Omaha was one of those great groups.
Did you ever play one-liners over there in Indy?
Like in the early days, Dan Whitney. So Dan was there all the time before he became Larry. And when I worked with him, I probably worked with him 7 or 8 times. He was working he used to do a radio show, or he was syndicated in Florida. And he had this kind of rednecky guy, this pre-Larry guy. And he'd always say, what the hell is this, Russia? And I think that was the precursor to Larry. And this is back in the 90s.
Right.
When did Larry take off? Late 90s, early 2000s, something like that?
I remember seeing 5 minutes of Larry the Cable Guy because on stage he was still Dan Whitney. And I remember seeing 5 minutes of Larry the Cable Guy at, I want to say, Side Splitters down in either Tampa or they had 2 clubs at the time. One of them was I can't remember the other city it was in, but I remember seeing like 5 minutes of Larry the Cable Guy before he exploded to the phenomenon that he was. Jamie says it's just a change of times. 20 years ago, everybody had a bar they hung out at and had friends at that bar. Now, if you do the same thing, people think you have problems. I'm not saying they're wrong, but at least 20 years ago, they didn't say it. Well, he makes a good point. Jamie, despite being younger than me, is an old soul, so he understands. So I got.
Have you ever saw Dan Whitney's first 20 minutes as Dan Whitney?
Yeah,
one of the strongest 20 ever. Just insane.
Right.
And then the last 15 were, but Larry, man, good for him for discovering it, expanding it, working on it,
and, milking it, tapping it, and just turning it into an industry.
It's literally an industry.
An industry.
I think he's from a small town in Nebraska.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, small town in Nebraska. You hear things through the comedy filter as to what he bought. A shitload of real estate. A bunch of land that that someday will be developed. Maybe it won't be, but he owns property and land and so forth.
Like $1 an acre, something like that.
Something
so crazy.
So Larry the Cable Guy was just a character that did for a few minutes on stage, right? And then it kind of blew up, right?
Right.
So think about, if you've got a character that you've worked on here and there and it explodes, is it a curse in the end that you're basically stuck with Larry the Cable Guy for 20 years?
Yeah, God, yeah. I don't know.
No, I'm just saying, like,
oh, yeah, the poor bastard.
Yeah, I know. You know what I mean. Creatively, is it a curse?
I would imagine so. I mean, on some level, maybe it is, because maybe that people think that's all you are and who you are. But you know what? Dan Whitney's actually a very smart guy as well, and I think that if he chose to do something else and put some thought and behind it, he could do something else if he wanted to. Yeah. But you know, when you're making a shit ton of money,
I know, right?
It's kind of hard to say, you know, I'm gonna put that aside. And,
pay the bills, right?
But as Larry, though,
dude, a dramatic role.
Even within the Larry character, he's still got to write stuff as Larry, so he's still writing jokes. Sure. I mean, it's whatever narrow,
which could be prohibitive.
Yeah, could be prohibitive. Could be. You mentioned a great name earlier, you know, Michael Pace, and I also noticed that you still kind of work with Pace. I saw some of your. So you write with him, literally write with him. You work on screenplays as well, and I saw that there was one in there with you and Pace as the screenwriters.
Yeah, well, we and I think you said writing with Mike. Sorry, you broke up. So we wrote a couple screenplays.
I did.
One was called one's called The Debriefing, and we thought this was great. Basically, president's elected on inauguration day. Who finds out he's a lame duck president? Fakes his own assassination to find out who's running D.C. The ending of our movie, we had just finished it, and then The Net with Sandra Bullock came out.
Oh, and man.
Their exact same ending was the exact same ending we had. And we're like, all right.
Son of a bitch.
There goes that.
It happened.
So then,
it happened.
So then Pace and I wrote Pink Slip. And the first one, my brother John helped us on The Debriefing. And then we wrote Pink Slip about a gay strike. Okay. What if every gay person in the country didn't go to work for a week? And so we had serious, funny, and it was all the way through. And then, like 6 months later, A Day Without a Mexican came out. Same idea. Never saw it. And like, all right, great. And then Pace and I, we wrote a comedy called The Dick Brothers. It's about lifelong buddies. They like comedy. They go to stand-up comedy. They become a comedy team. They do great. They break up. They get back together again. It's a full circle thing. And that was really funny. And if any movies to be made, that would be the one, the lowest budget one. And look, Dino knows, you guys know, entertainment is hard. But the movie industry, I can't even imagine.
We make films. Yeah. We have a film
it's almost
streaming.
Impossible.
Yeah, we have a drama, not a con. We have a drama streaming on Amazon as we speak that we shot a few years ago.
Really?
And we have that, and we have some shorts as well. That we make films. Whitney and I make films, and we keep promising Hansberry that he's going to be an Uber driver in one of them. But we have
so you put them on YouTube. Is there any traction from any of them, or?
Actually, the street where we live is actually on Movie Choice for free now on YouTube and Tubi TV, and still streaming on Amazon as we speak. Won the best festival award winner, and gotten some great reviews on Amazon, and it's interesting. It's finding a second life based on the theme of the film, which is. Takes place during the recession of 2008, and when everything was collapsing and people were suffering a lot of hardships. So it's interesting that
we're connecting.
We go. You and Pace are working on funny stuff, and we ended up writing a drama. We keep wanting to write a funny movie, but agree or disagree with me. People say, and Jamie is going to be one of those guys that chimes in. He's like, when the hell are you going to do something? When are you going to make a funny movie?
Oh, that's next. No more dramas. No more dramas.
But funny movies are hard to make.
Yeah.
Funny movies are hard to make if you don't get the timing just right. Yeah. And if it doesn't click, it nothing will flop faster than an unfunny movie. If the timing and the chemistry and the writing isn't tight and right. Would you agree or disagree?
I agree. And let me just briefly, as an aside, and I haven't seen it in 35 years. And I talked to Pace about it a couple months ago. So I rewatched Ishtar. Now, I know it did not do well with Beatty and Hoffman, but that is a pretty freaking funny movie. I love that kind of inside their horrible act, but they find their way, and there's some great lines in that movie. That's just me. Not the funniest movie ever made. Animal House, line for line, is the funniest movie ever made.
I can't. It would be up there for sure.
But I think Ishtar's in the top 150.
Really?
Really? Said the man who's the
weird. So
said the man who's the 87th funniest man in America.
Early 90s, my brother and I, we took the screenwriting seminar in Chicago, and the guys from Frasier and Cheers. So we went to this hotel in Chicago, and they had a 4-foot-high wall of scripts that were probably 100-foot semicircle. And they're like, so you guys want to be screenwriters, huh? And that was back in the day where everyone was submitting scripts. And I think that was a time where like only 180 mainstream movies got made a year. Now it's totally different and much less. Yeah. And a different process to get a movie made. But it's so hard. So congrats to you guys for getting your stuff on the air and viewed, just because it's money and who are you and I don't know you. And I always think of the Tim Allen manager thing. Mm-hmm. Tim Allen.
What's that? Yeah.
He's doing stand-up for years, and right before what was the Tool Time show? Whatever the show was. He hit it big, got an LA agent, and the agent's like, I want to use this management company, blah, 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 blah. His local Detroit manager was an outsider, and so he had to say, see ya, to the guy he's had for 20 years. How hard is that? And that happens like all the time.
Right. All the time. Let me ask you this, Peter. If not a comedian, what would you have done?
Well, I was a radio TV major.
I know what you were before comedy. But if not a comedian these past 30 years, what road do you think you would have gone down?
I would say, and that's an excellent question, because I don't have too many marketable skills. We all use the creative side of our brain. I would probably say, and it's weird, probably advertising, where I can do something writing wise. Mm-hmm. I liked working at radio stations, but can I be a 9-to-5 finance guy? No. I did get my real estate license in 2003, which is kind of like comedy. It's back end money. It's independent contracting. It's dealing with people.
Sure.
And, it's the altruistic goal. You want to make someone laugh. You want to sell, buy, or rent their house, make them feel good about the biggest financial thing they'll ever do in their life. So I'm a pretty good realtor, but would I love to be doing stand-up still full-time? Sure. But that stuff's not around anymore. So, advertising and that whole industry's changed, but some kind of writing thing, I think.
Mm-hmm. Where were you in the middle of your stand-up career when you met your wife?
Yeah. So this is a funny story. So I was living in Milwaukee. And I was doing a gig. And when I got done, my buddy and I, the Celebrity Club was this bar club. Pat McCurdy, he was a local Milwaukee musician, was playing there. And so my buddy and I and another friend were in the back, had a pitcher of beer, and my wife was there with 4 other women. They were bridesmaids shopping, and these other 4 women all knew each other, and they were like, they're very catty, very bridesmaidy. And so she looks over and she goes, "Can I join you guys?" Because we were sitting right next to them. So she joined us, and we all hit it off, and we went to an after party at one of her friend's house, and 3 of the people that met that night ended up getting married. They're still married.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So she was living in Madison. I was in Chicago, so it was long distance. And I was working a 2-week stretch in Minneapolis. And when you come back from Minneapolis, you have to drive through Madison. And it was Super Bowl Sunday. She had a party, so I stopped there and And that's kind of how it started. And then she moved to Chicago, got her physical therapy license, and when did she move? In '96. Got married in '97, and been 20 coming up on 24 years. So
24 years and 3 kids later. How old are your kids?
Jimmy, he's a senior at Minnesota. He just got a gig with Potbelly. He's a supply chain guy.
All right.
I have a freshman at Tulane. She dives on the diving team, and I have a sophomore in high school. Tennis player just made the badminton team. So
oh wow.
So I got.
What part of town you guys in, Peter? You're in Columbus or Chicago?
Yeah, Wilmette. So it's a suburb north of Chicago. You know, it's
I was down there for a while. I lived actually in Old Town, right down the street from
oh
Zany's.
gosh, Old Town by Zany's.
Yeah.
And old Jerusalem.
No.
It's a Middle Eastern place. That's
I don't know. No.
Yeah.
If I might miss it.
No,
but that was the thing. I would go to Zany's every once in a while, and then I'd pop into Second City. They would do the late night free improv set. So I was too poor to buy tickets, but you could sneak in and do the free midnight thing.
Right. It was right across the street, about a 2-minute walk. So that was great. And listen, Chicago's fun, and but nothing's going on in the city now. Had our troubles in the summer, like a lot of cities did, and
right.
We'll see what happens.
Right.
So my wife's getting her second vaccine because she's an essential worker, so that's good.
That's good. Yeah. That's good.
I think my wife's getting hers next week.
I'll hit it till August or September.
I don't. Me either. I'm just gonna wait for the Flintstone chewable and at this point. Yeah, I don't know when I get mine.
Let me have the Bam Bam.
Trying to fend off the Brazilian strain, which is the South African strain, but not as bad as the UK strain.
Right.
And you guys, it's so bad. I'm telling you, it's.
Has it changed you?
What's that?
Has it changed you? Has COVID changed you? Has it changed you mentally, emotionally? Professionally, I get, but it's a question that I ask almost everybody when we talk, because it's kind of like you can't ignore the elephant in the room, and COVID is that contagious elephant. I mean, has it messed with you?
A little bit. I mean, listen, as a realtor, I can do my stuff at home, but I go to the office a lot because I have to get out of the house. And, it gets you stir crazy. As independent contractors, us all, it's hard enough doing stuff at home. So I have to find time to go out and just get out of here. But of course it's changing. You can't see your buddies. As I get older, my sphere of influence, meaning the people I want to hang out with, is very small as it is. And so I can't see them. And, we can't go to restaurants. We'll order out a couple times. But it's you can't do anything. And then you see these people all over the place. In some cities, they're not wearing masks. They don't give a crap. And, I think it's a hoax and all that. And I do think the numbers are going down.
Yeah, they're doing better.
They're doing better. I mean, we got a ways to go. I was guesting on a radio show this morning, as a matter of fact, and they were talking about the Isle of Man, where they have 15 cases of COVID. 15, and nobody's allowed in, and anybody that comes in has to super quarantine, and they're back to full blown open. Everything, bars, restaurants, everything else, but they're keeping a tight lid on every case that comes in or out. So they got it under control. Same thing down in Australia.
Western Australia is like one case just came up.
Just so it's possible. It can happen if everybody kind of gets in line and does what they're supposed to do for even a somewhat extended period of time. It's just
if we did it for 4 weeks way back when.
If Lou Rawls, baby, if I coulda, woulda, shoulda,
that's right. But people are entitled. They have to go to Cold Stone to get their ice cream or whatever it is. It's
right. It's essential.
It is essential. That is very true. Very true.
So, going back to what Hansberry kept reiterating and making fun of earlier, do you have your Vim? Do you have your Vigor? Pete Lipsey.
Vim and Vigor.
Do you have Vim and Vigor? I mean, you look like, from here, you look like you're staying in good shape. I mean, I imagine you like the golf. You got the Titleist hat on. I'm looking at what you're wearing. Sports seem to be.
You broke up at the last second. I'm sorry. I did not hear.
I'm asking if you're in good shape. You look like you're in good shape, like you take care of yourself.
I mean, I'm doing the things we learned 50 years ago: push-ups, sit-ups, dips on a bench, and I'm just doing at home. I'm trying to work out. I played paddle tennis. I used to play racquetball all the time. I keep in touch with Jeff Davis once in a while. He's a really good racquetball player, and I was in this league for years. And two of the courts, all the yoga chicks were leaving the health club, so they said, without turning the two racquetball courts into spin and yoga studios. See 170 guys in the league. We don't care because you didn't have to pay when you play racquetball, and I get it. So I started playing platform tennis, which is like on a small tennis court with screens, and so that's what I do for my sports. And I'm supposed to run the marathon again. Last year it was canceled.
Wait, whoa, again?
What's that?
You run marathons? You said
Chicago
again?
Marathon. I've done 17 of them.
What the hell?
But here's the deal. I'm like not a runner. I haven't run in a year and a half, but I can do them for some reason. So I never start. I know.
Bullshit. You run 17 marathons.
As I get older, I got to train.
You're a runner. You're a runner.
Well, we'll see because I haven't done one in 2 years. But, I mean, I ran when it was 100 degrees in Chicago. Remember they were dropping like 8 years ago?
Yeah.
That was bad. But so they deferred me for this year, and so this will be my last one. And then once I turn 60, I'm done. So I've done 18 of them. I started in 97, didn't do one in 04. My youngest was born, and then I didn't do it. For 2 years because I did do it for 2 years. My son Jimmy got in, and like I had to do it with him, and then he got in again. I'm like, shit. Last year was COVID, and then, but I had already paid for it. And so I'll try and do it this year, but this will be my last one.
And a marathon is how many miles?
26.2.
26. I get bored driving 26.2 miles. I get restless in the car.
I run out of breath.
26.2 miles, let alone actually running. I can't imagine.
Yeah. You watch these guys from Kenya. They're freaking just
if you
jet.
Can make it 20, then your body knows you can do it. 18 is the wall where stuff happens. And so for me, 18 miles is I'm going through Chicago, and it's great. There's sections. There's 2 million people on the route. And so at 18 miles, I'm running through Chinatown, and it's like 11 o'clock, and they open all the vents in the kitchen at the same time. And I'm so hungry. And I've almost stopped like 10 times to eat. And then you're about 3 miles ago, you're by IIT, which is a college off Michigan Avenue, and all the college kids are drinking beer. You want a beer? How about this? Blah, blah, blah. And then you run down the thing and you're finished. So it's cool. I'm not winning the thing. I don't know why I'm still doing it.
No. In my 30s, I dated a girl who was a runner, and she convinced me to do a 5K, and I did a 5K, and that's when I was in decent shape and did a 5K. I was. You've heard the expression "photo finishes," right?
Yes.
Right. I was coming in so slow at the end, people were sketching me. I mean, that's how. Like, no, I am not a runner. Somebody could have handed me a push broom, so I could have swept up on the way in.
That's right.
It's just not my thing. It's not.
Yeah. And it's over the years, it's becoming not my thing either. So, like I said, I'll try one.
But you did 17 of them.
I know. Well, it's like I'm never doing it again. Then the application in your email comes. All right, I'll do it one more time. So I like going to the expo at McCormick Place. They have all this stuff you can buy. I don't buy a ton of stuff, but it's cool. People from around the world are like, all right, here we go. And the guy's holding his 356 marker. He comes in at 440. There's always those guys. There's like runners in training groups, and someone will hold a placard, 355. 420, 456, and they're always up at the end.
Wow.
But there's characters there all the time. There's always the singing Elvis, and there's always the guy running with a briefcase. There's a guy juggling 26 miles, which is amazing. He's no Chris Bliss, but he's a pretty good juggler.
Right.
So,
So
we'll see what happens. Yeah. I don't think we're going to have it next year, to be honest with you.
Honestly,
what part of
this thing's done in October?
Are they doing in October?
I think it's sometime in October. So, and again, I apologize for saying you guys are cutting in and out, but I'm glad
that's okay. These are the.
I'm reading lips, so I hope that's okay.
Yeah.
The trials and tribulations of the remote podcast. Sometimes
it's the times we live in.
Hey,
that's right.
Hey, Whitney, didn't we have a video? Do you want to play the video?
I was gonna. Hang on.
I'm stepping on your toes.
I was getting to it. That was gonna be my little cherry.
I'll edit this part out
on top of the Sunday. Before we closed up. Yeah, but we do. We have some. We can harken back to some early Pete Lipsey days, and then find out. Well, you know what? You brought it up, Hansberry. So you don't have to edit. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's go. Here's a little bit of Pete Lipsey back in the day, everybody.
Oh my gosh!
Driver's license renewed last week on Elson Street. You guys ever get your driver's license renewed down there? Man, that sucks. They won't still let me wait in line for over 7 hours because I ain't speaking enough Spanish. I'm not saying I was there all day, folks, but it took me longer to get my license than it took Augustus Gloop to get sucked up the river's filtration pipe and Willie Wonka and the chocolate factory.
Great reference.
I love references. Yeah.
Oh, that suit, man. That suit. Whoa. That was some suit.
David Byrne-esque.
Yeah, very nice.
Here's the deal. So probably like Dino, I would wear suits and sweaters and suspenders. And one day I was in a gig in Dothan, Alabama, where I still wore a suit. And they weren't having me at this bar.
No.
And that was 32 minutes of silence. And so now it's just like I'll go on stage with whatever. But yeah, I like wearing the suit. That was at the Improv. And they were the Funny Firm. And that was a great crowd. So how about that hair, huh?
Yeah, jet black. Jet black hair. I can see why your wife gravitated towards you.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Hey, so you mentioned Charlie Wiener earlier. I think I worked with him. Did you ever work with him at the Rapid City Room? Paul, what was his name? He ran it. He had slot machines on the side of the stage.
No.
That was really good. It was me, Charlie Wiener, and someone else. That was a great room. And what I was going to tell you, we were talking about the so many comedy clubs. It got to the point where, like, certain cities would do it every week, like Pierre, South Dakota, state capital, South Dakota. That's a one every 9-week room. When I was there, they were doing it every week. I closed down so many rooms because there aren't enough people to support it. There aren't enough decent comics to come every week. And that was the downfall, I think, in the later 90s of comedy.
Right.
So I don't know why I brought that up, but I had to get the Charlie Wiener thing in.
Yeah, no, Charlie's a great guy. We had a two-parter with Charlie because he was actually here in the house. Wow. And we talked about so many things, and he was very open and honest. He talked about his bouts with depression, and we went deep. And that's kind of what I miss about the face-to-face of this podcast, which I want to go back to. I seem to, not that we haven't had a great report tonight. You've been absolutely terrific, from start to finish.
Yes.
But I do like actually being across from somebody in a situation like this when I'm talking to them and interviewing them, because I can see some things that I miss when we're doing this. There's certain things that I can pick up on when I'm actually sitting across from somebody that I miss when we're doing it remotely. But we'll get back to those days.
Yeah, you'll get back to those. I mean,
we'll get back
you're like Larry King. You got someone across from you, like Joe Franklin. Remember that guy?
Yeah, Joe Franklin.
Oh my gosh. I love all those guys.
Larry King, yeah, what is great.
No, too soon.
He just died. He just
died.
Too soon.
His too soon. He was 80.
He was
90.
Oh my gosh.
Something like that.
Dare
But
I
his,
say Columbus, Ohio? Hello. I mean, you know,
hello,
come
Columbus,
on.
Ohio. I don't understand.
You're on the line.
I don't understand gluten. I love gluten.
it
There you go. I love
it was nonsensical.
It was nonsensical.
And then just kind of like
I've been eating gluten all my life.
He had
right.
non sequiturs, which I like.
Yeah, Pringles are not really a potato chip.
I
Liberace,
think you're onto something.
Liberace, one hell of a racquetball player.
Did you just say, and I'm sorry, bro, did you say Liberace, one heck of a racquetball player?
I was channeling Larry King. Yes, he would just with his non-sequitur. I don't know if Liberace played racquetball. I would imagine no, but it's a funny image.
The big outfit.
Funny you say non sequiturs, because when we started, like I used to be, I have to go from one bit to the next, to the next, to the next.
Right.
I'm all over the place now. That's the funnest. But I mean, I don't know when you started. If you said, "Here's my first bit, second, third, fourth, fifth." And then
I was very, very structured. And there was a time in my act where I had so many, where you had to pay attention because I had so many callbacks. And someone said your business card should say "call me." I call back because I would have so many callbacks in my show. That if you're paying attention, you really got to appreciate how it was structured and so forth. And it's interesting because when I went to Europe to do a few gigs, when I was in Denmark and I did a little club in Denmark, it's interesting that audience is like the callback was something like, we've never seen this before. What you did, how you did this, and you brought it back, and then you brought it back again, and like a whole different appreciation for something
that's awesome.
That I was just taking for granted, but they would appreciate the artistry of what you were doing.
That is so cool. Bill Bauer taught me how to do a callback.
Yeah.
You ever work with Bill?
Oh yeah.
I worked with him for years on the road. We were doing the 2nd Street Slammer in Hastings, Nebraska, and it was this big old airplane hangar, right?
Love these names of these clubs. The 2nd Street.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And so I went over 35 minutes, but I never bailed on stage, and he always appreciated that. And so we worked together on and off for years, and he taught me kind of how to write jokes. And I love doing callbacks. 6 times in my career, though, I forgot to do the setup to the callback. I closed the show.
They're completely confused.
Guilty. What's the matter? I did pretty guilty. Oh,
get it?
And guilty. Maybe do a street
Why did I get a laugh? Why did I get a laugh? Oh,
right.
I never actually set it up beforehand. Yeah. That would happen on 3-night shows for me.
Right.
Yeah. You remembered that you did it in the first show, the second show, and then you assumed you did it in the third show.
Right.
But you didn't. All right, we gotta start wrapping things up.
Yeah.
Our guest has been Peter Lipsey. Peter, if people want to find you and what you do, and because I know you do a lot of corporate events and a lot of stuff like that, and private events, if they want to find you and contact you, how can people do that?
Yeah, it's my website. It's my name, Peter Lipsey. L-I-P is in Peter, S-E-Y, peterlipsey.com. Very easy. Google my name, go to the website, and I got a contact page and clips and, all that kind of stuff. And if you think my style fits what you're looking for an event, give me a call. They're all fun. And I don't know about you, Dino, but, doing the gigs is obviously the best part. But if we have to fly or drive, getting the gigs, making phone calls, it's just for some reason, it just seems a little bit harder these days. But I appreciate the gigs I get more and more, and doing things like this. This is great.
Well, I appreciate you coming on tonight, man. It was it was very fortuitous that Doc brought us together again.
Yes,
and let's stay in touch. Let's keep in touch and get you back for another time or something else.
Yeah,
if one of these movies hits and you sell it,
that's right.
It goes.
I'm a hell of an Uber driver.
And listen, I hope I didn't step on any of you guys' lines because, again, I don't know. I can hear you clearly sometimes and not. So, I appreciate it. Nice meeting you guys.
Nod and laugh.
No worries. But do take that to heart, what Hansberry said. In one of your scripts, if you have a role for an Uber driver, put him in because that'll take the burden off of us.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We won't have to worry about it anymore. He'll be an Uber driver in a film.
Absolutely.
Put him in. Put him in. Our guest has been Peter Lipsey. Before we go, Hansberry, another tag on some of the business that we need to get to.
Yeah, let me get my cheat sheet here. Of course, if you were listening on your favorite podcasting app, thank you very much. Make sure you hit subscribe and rate and review us. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, or maybe you are a Facebook fan and you've already watched us, or this is like an old episode that's been posted, make sure you keep tabs with us and make sure you like us because we do these live events and you can be part of the conversation. All right, and like and share with all your friends that you think might like this. Thank you very much. YouTube Whiskey Business with Dino Tripodis, same thing. Subscribe and hit that bell icon, and everything will be sent directly to your phone whenever new things posted. What else? Instagram, Twitter, the Marvel Universe. I think we're getting close to the Marvel Universe. Yeah, WandaVision. We're like that close to being on the next episode of WandaVision.
WandaVision. Yes.
And whiskeybusinesspod.com.
Very good, very good. Also, reminder that if you can come across it and find it, the Weller. I always get this wrong.
Do they still have them? I mean, is it still theoretically possible to find it?
No.
No,
but if you do come across it somewhere, the Weller Foolproof, and of course, the Costco whiskey that Peter's got there, the Weller Special Reserve. There's still bottles of that hanging around. Hansberry's Infinity Pour.
It went down. It went down, especially after the ice melted.
If you find this for what it's supposed to cost, then grab it up. But right now on the secondary market, it's absolutely ridiculous, and do not pay that price for this. I mean, it's good, but I shouldn't say nothing's $450 good because I'd be a hypocrite. But Hansberry, I like the album choice tonight as well.
Yeah,
totally.
George Carlin, Class Clown.
Yeah, find a good
that was
the record for you.
One of the greats.
One of the greats. Fine choice there. So once again, thank you, John Whitney, on the video side. Thank you, Greg Hansberry, on the audio side. On the great guest side, Peter Lipsey, thank you so much. I'm your host, Dino Tripodis. Next week, sports writer Todd Jones, who's going to be kicking off a podcast of his own that will detail some of the great moments in sports that he's covered over the years. We cover everything from A to Z on Whiskey Business. And so, my friends, until the next bottle, see ya.